What's a simple, everyday approach to mess with people? Story 1. The Key Parade. The situation. You and some friends or family are returning to your home. You, being the key holder, approach the door to unlock it. Your friends or family are ideally engaged in conversation and are generally ignorant of your activities. The trick? Go through the motion of flipping through your keys, preparing to unlock the door, realize that you have the wrong key, and flip to a new one. Then realize that you actually had the right key the first time and go back. Keep bouncing between potential successful lock candidates until someone explicitly tells you to unlock the goddamn door. If they say, "Are you going to unlock the door?" you say, "Yeah, I had the wrong key," or something dismissive. My record is about 15 minutes of people standing outside my apartment until someone eventually concludes that I have no intention of unlocking the door. Hint for success: do not painstakingly flip through every key. It's obvious and people notice. Also helps to actually try a wrong key in the door, assuming that you know it will fit. The nod along. The situation: you're in a light-hearted conversation with someone. If you do this in a serious conversation, you're a jerk. The trick? Somewhere in the middle, ideally while your partner is expounding upon a point, cease verbally replying and begin simply nodding along. See how long they will talk for before they notice that you aren't contributing to the conversation. The longer they take to notice, start disengaging, even nonverbal cues, and just stare at them blankly. Hint: ease into a state of non-reply. Some verbal responses, such as "yes, of course," that gradually become a humming should preface merely nodding. This trick is actually somewhat dangerous, as some people will never notice that you aren't responding, and you may find yourself mired in an unwanted conversation. The handoff. The situation: you're in a public place and are carrying some garbage in hand that isn't obviously garbage, for example, an empty soft drink from McDonald's. The trick? Hand the empty container to a friend and ask them to hold it for you just a sec. Fish around in both of your pockets as if you're looking for something, but don't find it. Search more pockets, check your phone, and look flustered. Never retrieve the item from their hand. Hint: engage the victim in conversation at the same time. It's a good distraction. The worrier. The situation: you're bored. The trick? Text a friend a conversation opener like, "Hey, are you there?" Don't send another message. Hint: don't do this to your mother. Story 2. So my grandma is a total neat freak. We often say that when she passes, she'll be found next to a dustbuster. I was sitting on a recliner that was near a small rug on the floor. It was a holiday or birthday, so naturally, Grandma is zooming around the house doing stuff. I decide to kick a corner of the rug up and see if she notices. Well, she comes into the living room, sees a rug askew, and flattens the corner and straightens it. This happens 2 more times. I'll flip a corner up, and she'll be passing, and flip the corner down and straighten it out. Finally, I decide to roll the rug up and put it in the coat closet. Grandma goes back and forth through the room at least 5 times before she stops and goes, "Something in here is different." At that point, myself and all the family members that had watched the entire thing take place start cracking up. I got up and grabbed the rug from the closet, and Grandma put it all together and started cracking up with us. One of my favorite memories of a family gathering. Might sound like I'm just a jerk, but she loved little innocent stuff like that. Story 3. For almost 3 months, I would drive by my best friend's house after every day except trash day. He always put the bin in the same corner next to his garage, so throughout the week leading up to trash day, I moved the bin slightly closer to the house. I had a system. He'd always move it back to the corner, but every day I'd move it. About a month in, he started mentioning the moving bin in conversation. "I think someone's messing with my trash." Nah, stop being paranoid. In the last week that I did this, the buildup was showing. He would go home to check more often, even going as far as to install a bunch of motion sensor lights. Now, being his best friend, I had knowledge of where he kept a spare key to his house, so finally, the day before trash day, I put the bin in his house. He went insane. We're talking about cameras outside, even shopping for security systems. I never told him. Sorry, Dan. Story 4. I hated my old job and just wanted to make everyone as miserable as I was. So I downloaded a high-pitched frequency app that plays a super high-pitched noise, like dog whistle high pitch. I sat at my desk and did it about 3 times a day in short 5 to 10 second bursts for almost 6 months. We had 4 people in our area, and the boss man's office entrance was close to my desk. I would play the sound and then pretend that I didn't hear anything when everyone started to freak out. My boss hired like 8 IT guys over the course of 6 months and probably spent $1,000 trying to find the phantom noise, thinking it was a fax machine or copier or someone's computer speakers. Our big boss even came down on him asking why he had spent a bunch of money on IT workers. I got my lols and found a better job. Wonder if he ever put it together it was me. Well, at least we know that everyone in the office believes in Santa Claus. They would for sure get approved for a ticket on the Polar Express. Story 5. My time to shine. In a big open area, just quickly look upwards and look incredulous as to what you see, and notice as more and more people around you look up to see what's going on. Works great at Disneyland. Pick out a guy and a girl name, David and Sarah work great, and when you see someone in a large crowd, look confused and tentatively ask, David? If their name is David, they'll be so confused, but if they aren't David, they won't get mad either because they understand mistaking someone from your past. If someone is wearing a shirt with wording on it and you're walking towards them, whisper the words of their shirt right as they're passing you. Always leads to a great deal of confusion. If someone goes on a long tangent or tells a long story, wait a couple seconds and ask, what do you mean, you people? Pretend to not know what potatoes are. You know, potatoes, boil 'em, mash 'em, stick 'em in a stew. Story 6. I work at a grocery store. From time to time, I'll ask customers, do you have any coupons today? If asked to repeat the question, I'll switch the word back to coupons, just to mess with them. I'll also subtly substitute shoot card for chip card, and as they leave, I'll tell them to have a grape day. There was an internet post about a guy who put small insults randomly in coworkers' post-it pads, and how the coworker was slowly driven mad until he cracked at the office. Mimicking people's body language, but you have to know you're doing it actively. Subtly touching your nose and ears and watching people do the same subconsciously is way more fun than it should be. When I'm driving by myself, I'll put some ridiculous face where I try to look both confused and despondent. That way, just in case anyone sees me, they'll think, geez, what's up with that guy? Story 7. I work in a cubicle setting and change the sensitivity of each computer's mouse to varying degrees. Listening to coworkers yell, stop, or come on, inanimate objects are a real treat. As a woman, when you walk by an unknown couple, casually say hi to the man and keep walking. Allow everyone to enter the elevator before you, as a gesture of kindness. Then when you enter the elevator, stand facing the back wall. It's amazing how uncomfortable people get in such a short time. If I'm talking to someone and we're both standing, I'll take a tiny step forward to get in their personal space. They'll eventually step back, then I'll do it some more. If I'm careful and the conversation lasts long enough, I can steer them across the room. Story 8. I once rode a ferry during some hockey thing going on, and the cafeteria was loaded with annoying buttholes screaming at the TV. So I downloaded a remote app for my phone, checked that I had the right programming selected, and right when it looked like someone was about to score, I turned it off. And man, would they scream. And several guys lunged at the remote lying on the table and actually struggled to be the one turning on the TV again. One time it got so bad, security had to step in and tell them to calm the frick down or they would have police waiting for them at the port. I think that's the only time I've enjoyed watching sports on TV. Story 9. My ex-boss used to go crazy if the department phone rang more than 3 times without someone picking it up, even though our space was huge and we couldn't always reach the phone before the 3rd ring. If we were even in the department when it rang. Oh, and his office was right beside the desk where the main phone was, and he could answer it from his own phone too, but he wouldn't. So one day I'd had enough of that and programmed the main phone line to forward to his direct line. I left it like that for a week. He raged every day. Why are all these people calling me for this junk? It was a good week. Story 10. Decide on a victim. Watch their eyes as you interact with them. Whenever they look at your left eye, or to something on your left, speak just a little bit more loudly. Whenever they look at your right eye, or to something on your right, speak just a little bit more softly. Whenever they use a buffering phrase, something like or bob your head slightly. Time your breathing so that you're exhaling while they are inhaling. Finally, and most importantly, if they ever pause for more than 2 seconds, kick them in the shins, then hand them a random amount of money. Refuse to acknowledge any of the above if challenged. Story 11. If you have kids and you're visiting a friend's house, take them with you. When you arrive, get your child to point to an empty place in the room and then say, "Daddy, Mommy, why is that little boy crying?" I heard this on a website once. This guy got his coworkers to put spoons at the bottom of another coworker's every email, but in white font. Basically, you had to highlight it to read it. They kept stealing his spoons during lunch, and he would keep getting spoon ads from the emails. Brilliant. Well, what in tarnation is a spoon ad? Is there really a marketing department behind selling spoons? Like, who doesn't know what a spoon is and needs an advertisement in order to buy one? It's like those Got Milk ads. Never really understood who those were meant for. I know it was like a government program to increase milk consumption, which is weird because, like spoons, milk is so prominent in everyday life that you wouldn't think people need to be reminded about it. Both things have been around for millennia. Story 12. Change their computer language to English US or English UK, depending on where they're from. The spell checks will drive them insane. Occasionally, I'll take the USB for my wireless mouse and plug it into people's computers when they aren't looking and mess with them that way. One time, a friend was playing Hitman, and every time he would line up a shot, I would move my mouse just a little bit so his shot would miss. His reactions were priceless. Story 13. When you're chatting with someone and they make a joke or something, say this to them: "I don't care what anyone says about you. You're funny." Or, "I don't care what anyone says about you. You're all right in my book." It totally messes with people because it usually takes a couple of seconds to sink in that people have apparently spoken bad about them to you. I always get a laugh out of using it. Story 14. Say something at a slightly lower volume that is just nonsense, but sounds like a real word. I say Zerubbabel, then laugh or just smile, like you don't really expect a response. They'll either laugh with you, or when they say, "Huh?" you say, "You know what I mean. Have you ever seen one of those?" and laugh harder. They'll usually agree with you and laugh awkwardly. Story 15. Locate your friend's toilet roll stash. Every time you visit them, remove one of their rolls and replace with a slightly better quality one. Once they've made the switch to buying better toilet paper, they will switch their entire stash for the inferior rolls you previously stole from them. Also, find their main keyring and add extra keys to it. Story 16. Every day on my walk to the subway, I'll pass a particular crosswalk with the same female crossing guard. Every day, like clockwork, I'll walk across the street, looking to the sidewalk in front of me and not her, and the second I pass her, I jerk my head around and say, "Good morning." Jolts her completely. Probably thinks I'm autistic. Story 17. After the weekend, say something like, "Oh my God, the craziest thing happened to me this weekend." Start the story, make it exciting, then stop. Act like you have something else to do, and never finish the story. I've been telling this new guy a story since Monday, and he seems visibly upset that I have not finished. Story 18. When I was a kid, I used to pretend that I had a bad leg. I would trail after my mom in whatever store we happened to be in and loudly call to her, "Mom, please wait for me. You know I can't walk that fast." Story 19. When I meet a person who is an arrogant know-it-all, I bring up some BS facts about the topic they're discussing, and they tell me how they know all about it. Kind of like Jimmy Kimmel's Lie Witness News. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.